Hey everyone, it's Jaden here from SpeedCubeShop.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the new DaYan FTO. For those who don't know, FTO stands for Face Turning Octahedron, and to briefly explain why this puzzle has been so popular recently, roughly at the start of this year, DianSheng had released the first mass-produced speed solvable FTO. Now what that did was bring a lot of attention to the FTO community and brought a really compelling argument to possibly adding this as an official event to the WCA. If you want to learn more about the DianSheng FTO and some of the prior hardware, there will be a link down in the description below to our DianSheng FTO review. Now moving back to the DaYan FTO, the community pretty much had two goals for this puzzle. One, to perform as well, if not better, than the DianSheng, and two, to fix DianSheng's biggest problem, which was popping. So now let's go ahead and unbox this and see if DaYan was able to meet the community's expectations. So this is what the packaging looks like. Really shiny silver box, looks pretty simple. It's very reflective, and unboxing it, pretty simple. Just open it up. There's not much in here. We have the cube itself. We have a CubeShop guide, which is basically all in Chinese. On the backside, it's just blank, so there's no English translation. And I mean, to be fair, the method that's used is not one that most people would use for speed solving an FTO. So I don't know how relevant or useful this would actually be. And then the last thing in here is an extra set of springs, which I've been told are a stronger set of springs than the ones that come default in the cube. And that's pretty much it. There's just the springs, the CubeShop guide, and the cube. Nothing to it, very simple unboxing. All right, so taking a look at the cube here, it looks quite nice. The exterior kind of feels a little like, almost like sticky. It's like definitely more of a frosted exterior, whereas the DianSheng is more of like a semi-gloss. Also just feels quite a bit bigger, but I do want to test first, were they able to fix DianSheng's popping problem? So easiest way to test that is to just turn it about halfway. You don't even have to turn all that hard. If it's the same as the DianSheng, it will just pretty much explode. Now I will say with the DianSheng, you did have to loosen it a little bit before it really started to pop a lot, but let's just see out of the box, does it pop at all? So we're gonna start with a pretty light turn here. Okay, maybe a little harder. No, this thing seems to be really solid. That's not going anywhere. I'm putting a lot of force into that, and this thing is sturdy. Yeah, no, I think that's a win. I think I can say they have fixed the popping problem. Now, if it's like the DianSheng, you'd probably have to loosen it up a little bit, but I mean, it had a fair bit of flex and it was not going anywhere. So now let's go ahead and do some first turns and see if it's able to keep up with the DianSheng, or maybe see if it's better. Okay. So the cube is kind of dry, which is to be expected. Most like cubes out of the box feel pretty dry and sandy. It does feel like it's pretty stable. Like, it does not feel like it's gonna go anywhere. It does catch a little bit, which is fine. FTO hardware is relatively new, so I'm not expecting this to have the perfect performance. But I mean, I feel like it's very stable, it's very reliable. I feel like I'm able to turn much closer to my full speed than I was with the DianSheng. Like, I don't feel like this is gonna pop at all. And the magnet strength is quite nice. Turning it slowly, I can definitely tell that the magnets are a bit stronger, but it also has core magnets, which is something we'll look at in a moment here. But I definitely feel like when I'm turning faster, the core magnets seem to be doing like the majority of the work. Like, it feels very almost like center heavy. I mean, just doing some basic algorithms, this feels better than the DianSheng. Taking a look at the corner cutting, feels pretty standard for an FTO. Of course, as time goes on, hardware is going to improve, performance is going to get better, and corner cutting will inevitably get better. For reverse corner cutting, not really all that much, but that is to be expected. But I mean, overall, corner cutting is quite nice. And before we actually open this up and take a look at the core magnets, let's do a direct comparison to the DianSheng itself. So just putting them side by side, you can tell that the DaYan is significantly bigger, which is something that I noticed pretty much right out of the box. From what I measured, I went face to face here, and that is about 56.1 millimeters for the DianSheng. And then for the DaYan, when I measured face to face, it was about 61 millimeters. So again, pretty big difference in size. And another thing, like I mentioned earlier, is that the DianSheng has a bit more of a glossy look to it, and the DaYan much more of a frosted look. And even just after some of those first turns, I can already feel the frostedness kind of going away, and it's starting to become more of a semi-gloss, similar to that of the DianSheng. Now, for some of the differences, you can't tell just by looking at it. The DaYan is significantly more flexible, which I would rather take a flexible cube than one that pops. Typically, I prefer a much more stable cube and one with less flexibility, but I think in this situation, I'll make an exception for that, and especially since it turns so well and I don't really notice it when I'm doing some of the algorithms. And just for comparison, this is how flexible the DianSheng is. And also, the DaYan is significantly heavier, coming in at about 108 grams, whereas the DianSheng is only about 88 grams. Now, obviously, part of that is due to the fact that it is bigger, so you're using more plastic, more weight, but it also has a ball core, which I think now is an appropriate time to actually take a look at that. So since the cube is so pop resistant, I've had to loosen it quite a bit. I've done probably 20 quarter turns, and even still, it's taken quite a bit to take that piece out. But once we have that piece out, I think it's gonna be a little bit easier to actually, take some of the other pieces out. I think I'm gonna have to loosen up this cube a little bit more. There we go. Okay, interesting. So this is what the edge looks like. You can see the little magnet here that attracts to the core. And if I take away some more of these pieces here, we can get a better look at the core. So it looks pretty similar to that of their Megaminx. Got the red ball with the magnets in there. And then if you look closely at the screw, you can tell they're using a spring, so there isn't maglev in these FTOs yet. But I mean, just looking at the pieces, it's quite a different design from the DianSheng, but it definitely seems to be working. The performance seems to be a lot better. It seems to be very pop resistant. I had to loosen it quite a bit just to even get one piece out, and then I had to loosen it even more to get some of the other pieces out, like the edges. But now that we've taken a look at some of the internal components here, let's put it back together and actually do a solve in this cube and see how it performs when we're not just doing algorithms. So I've gone ahead and pulled up an actual FTO scramble. That way we're not just hand scrambling. And for reference, I average about 41, 42 on the DianSheng. So I think a reasonable time to get would be roughly around 45 or no slower than that. But let's see if we're actually able to achieve that. Okay. So yeah, right away I'm noticing that this is gonna take some getting used to because I'm so used to the DianSheng. But I mean, right away I can already tell that I feel a lot more confident on this cube. Like I feel like I could turn probably even faster than this and not like be concerned that it's going to pop at all. It feels very stable. I like the magnetic strength. And God, no. That was a 29. I mean, obviously +2, but like, dang, wow. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this might actually be a lot better than the DianSheng. We'll do one more solve, make sure it's not a fluke. But as I was saying, the magnets feel really nice. The flexibility really helps with kind of cutting through some of those catches. It doesn't really feel like it's locking up at all. And I just genuinely prefer this way more than the DianSheng. Now, this isn't to say that the DianSheng is bad by any means. It was essentially the first speed solvable FTO that was, mass produced. So there's definitely, was gonna be room to improve. And I think DaYan took full advantage of that opportunity and made something that was just absolutely amazing. Let's do one more solve, see how it goes. That 29 was crazy. This one doesn't look as good as the last one, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, I definitely don't think this is going to be a 29 because of how long it took me just to get my first center done. But I mean, again, it feels really good. It feels very like confidence inspiring. The sandiness is already kind of starting to go away, which is nice. So yeah, that's pretty much what I average on a setup DianSheng. That's a 41, and this has had no setup to it. I haven't really messed with the tensions. There's no lube in it at all. This just feels so good just out of the box. I think I'm probably not even gonna set this up. I think I'm just gonna leave it as is. If I do anything to it, it's gonna be loosening it up a tiny bit. I don't really think it needs lube. I haven't heard any spring noise yet. So honestly, this is a really good go-to if you're getting into FTO because it requires very little setup, if any, to to get started. So yeah, I think it's safe to conclude that this is better than the DianSheng without a doubt. Now, if you want to pick one of these up, you can pick one up at SpeedCubeShop.com for $29.95, which is a fair bit more than the DianSheng. But again, you're getting a cube with much better performance and you're getting one with core magnets. I think even though it is nearly $30, it's definitely worth it. I definitely recommend this cube for, you know, longtime FTO solvers, people who are really experienced, and even just those getting into it and wanting to get an FTO for the first time. Highly recommend it. It's definitely worth the $30. I'm not really seeing any issues with this cube, at least as of now. Of course, we are going to have more improvements in the future as time goes on, but if I had to choose an issue with this cube, it's gonna be the colors. Now, it's not all of them, it's two in particular. It's specifically blue and purple. Now, there's really one situation in which I'm complaining about, and it's pretty much like when I'm doing a triangle swap and then I get purple and blue, and it's just one blue one or one purple one. If I look at the bottom, especially since there's a shadow, they look very similar. So it's hard to tell that the cube isn't solved already. If I look at the top, if I look quickly, I will sometimes miss it. But yeah, very minor issue. I would probably prefer maybe a pink face. I know DaYan with their mega mixes, the pink contrasts very well with blue and red. So I would think maybe doing pink might be a better color. So DaYan, this is for you guys. Please make one with a pink face. If you don't want to mass produce it, I'll take it. Anyways, that's just a really minor complaint. I think overall, my final thoughts, this cube is significantly better than the DianSheng. It's really good. The flexibility is nice. It's not like it's super flexible where my fingers are getting stuck between the pieces. The magnet strength is really nice. It's not too strong. The finish is already starting to fade from a frosted finish to more of a glossier finish, which is really nice that it's kind of breaking in so quickly. The sandy feel is already starting to go down. And I think the biggest upside is that this cube does not pop and it doesn't really require any setup if you're just getting started. Of course, if you are at that kind of like top level of FTO solver, you're probably gonna wanna set it up a little bit, at least loosen the tension somewhat. But as we've seen, even with loosening the tensions quite a bit, this thing was not gonna pop. With that said, I think that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe, and be sure to leave a comment down below letting us know what you guys think is going to be the next advancement in FTO hardware. Are we gonna get a dual adjustment system? Maybe maglev? Let us know in the comments below. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.